Hello everybody, how's it going? Happy Monday, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Make sure I'm in the screen here as we get going. Welcome to December. It's been 6 months, if you can believe it, of us doing Facebook Lives or webinars or some kind of online education. And I just want to start off first by saying thank you. Thank you to everybody that has been continuing to support these, and they keep coming on each week when we do it. Okay, looks like we're back on here. And Wyatt, we got a couple people. Everybody hearing me? Okay. All right, we had a little pause there. Sorry about that. But anyway, thank you to everybody that has been supporting this over the last couple of months. We've really been having a good time doing this, and we're going to keep going into the new year. However, this will, let me say this will potentially be the last Facebook Live for 2017. For me, I might do another one. I planned on getting through 2 topics today. I really wanted to get into some hip components. We call it the 4-cornered hip approach that I implement here, that John and I implement here with our clients. And I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to get into that one. I think it's probably just going to be social facilitation today. So I might do another one of these before the end of the year, or maybe save it until 2018. I really want to talk about this topic though, so I'm pretty excited about it. So we'll see what comes up. It all kind of depends. The reason I'm being kind of vague on it. I do have a surgery tomorrow to fix a hernia. So I'll be out for 4 or 5 days after that, and then back into the gym, and we'll just kind of see how things go. And then we have our holiday party and a whole bunch of really good stuff coming up the rest of the month. Plus the holidays themselves, so probably 2018 will be coming back on with that one. But today's topic, social facilitation, basically the idea or the reasoning behind why group training is such a good model and why it works so well. A lot of people don't really know the whole reasoning behind it. They just know that when you get people together, they really try harder. And there is a science behind the whole thing, and there's a whole purpose behind it. And at some point in the process of kind of figuring out what the magic number is, there is such thing as too much. And so when I was kind of selling this, promoting it a little bit to all of you, I talked about a secret, and that is one of the big secrets to this whole thing is there is a number that is too much, where your social facilitation of the group and the people that you're working with, it will actually either backfire or just stop working entirely. So we're going to talk about that a little bit while we dive into this, okay? All right, so this whole thing starts all the way back in 1898 with a guy named Norman Triplett, who, I don't know the whole story, I'm not a historian necessarily, but going through a sports psychology class, our professor talked about him quite a bit and talked about this process of how he was working with cyclists. And at the time, when you competed in cycling, it would be one person on, this is indoor cycling, it would be one person on the track, and they would race around for however many laps, I don't know the sport, but they'd do however many laps they would do, and then when they were done, they basically had a call that said, I'm finished, I'm on my last lap. The next teammate would come out, and they would ride a lap together, and then the person that had started would cycle off, and the next person basically took the baton, quote unquote, and they would do their laps, and then the third one would come out and they do the same thing. And so what Triplett started to notice was, not that the last lap was the person that was on the course still going, it wasn't their fastest lap, but it was a faster lap when they had another person present. When they had somebody fresh come onto the track that was basically a rabbit now that they would chase, they would try a little bit harder. And that kind of brought forth the whole process for him to start doing a little bit more studying, a little bit more background on this, to the point where he started working with kids with fishing rods. And he would have a kid, cast a fishing rod out to 60 feet or whatever it was, and then he would say, reel this in as quick as you can, and they would, they'd reel it in and it would go. And he would time them, and he did however many, times he needed to do to get a consistent time of, an average of what they could do. And then he would put 2 of them together, same distance, same amount, and they would both improve because they were trying to either one-up or compete, or there was a competitive environment now brought to them that they needed to try a little bit harder. And then he added another one, and eventually there was a number he got to where it didn't work. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. So to practice this, Gloria Solomon was my professor at Sacramento State, and being an NCAA hammer thrower and one of the only competitive athletes in our group of students that we had, every time there was something that needed to be done, when we did the Wingate test or Bruce protocol or whatever it was that we had to do for any of our exercise, phys classes, everything, I always got volunteered as the athlete or the individual to do it to. So of course in this study, I'm the one that gets volunteered. So they bring me back, one coach, okay, another student, one client, me, and then we go into the office, and the instructions are have Robert have me do as many push-ups as he can. And so I do 27 push-ups, but nobody's there to watch me. It's just the one coach, okay? So I want to, I don't know any of this stuff yet. We haven't even talked about this. It was just, go do this, we're going to test you, okay? So I don't know anything about Triplett, I've never even heard of it. So I do 27 push-ups. And this is a 3-hour graduate class, so I'm sitting and waiting, and about an hour later, we go back again, one client, me, the one coach, and now we're in the classroom, and there's 30 students in the group, and half the students kind of go over and they're mingling around the outside of the classroom, but I can still see that they're present, they're just not watching me. And then the other half were kind of standing around, and they've been instructed to watch but not to do anything else. And so they say do as many push-ups as you can, and so I do 33 push-ups, okay? And I'm pretty pumped. A couple of them clap at the end. They're allowed to clap a little bit. And then I think this was actually the next time we came in, so I had a lot of recovery. One client, me, one coach, plus the entire classroom now on a table. So I'm elevated, I'm put in front of everybody, and everyone watches, and they're chanting my name, and they're clapping, and they're cheering me on, and I do 40 push-ups. And just to kind of prove or to sell the fact, we do it again the same day, where I do the planking. I do about a 2.5 minute plank by myself with the coach, 3:47 with half the room, and then at 5 minutes they stopped me when I got up onto the table there, basically just to kind of prove my point. Not that they stopped me because I could have done more. I was toast. I was pretty much done. But this gave me the opportunity here to showcase to them that there is a certain point, there is a personality, number one, that most personalities will respond this way, to where when someone else is holding you accountable, trying to motivate you and then teach you the right way to do things, you will respond to those efforts. And that's basically the reason we have a career. The reason that we are trainers, and the reason that we're here is we know what to do, we know how to do it, and we give them the accountability and the motivation to do that. And even in a one-on-one environment, you saw with, if I were to go and do push-ups just by myself, I probably would have done 20 or 22 and said that's probably it. But because I had one person, one coach there watching me, I tried a little bit harder. And so at some point, the one-on-one, and trainers, you probably have experienced this, where in the beginning, your presence brings out quite a bit of effort out of your client. And they'll go when you tell them to go, and they'll give you full-out efforts, and eventually you guys kind of become buddies, and you start socializing during the breaks, and we start to become more chummy than we necessarily do this new relationship. And at some point you say, hey, I need a big effort, and it's like, man, I'm not feeling it today, or hey, I don't know if I'm up for this. It starts to wear off just a little bit. Still a bigger effort and accountability of being there and so on, but there's at some point where things start to wear off a little bit, and we kind of look at this as like, hey, I don't like this term at all. It's better than nothing. I'm not a fan of that. You either do or you do not, as Yoda said. We want to do really, really well with the efforts we have. So as professionals, it's our job to try to recruit that and get that to come out. However, there is going to be a little layoff, okay? So when we look beyond this, the whole idea of being able to work people into an environment, okay, and we'll kind of talk about group training here a little bit. If I have one client, one-on-one, and I've told you a little bit, if you're new and you're watching with us today, these are all on YouTube, anything that I'm referencing to, and you're welcome to hop on there and see them. Maybe 2 weeks ago, we talked about our training philosophy and the model we use and how we kind of group our clients together. So I've talked about that a little bit. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I want to look at the idea of why the groups work well. And if I have one client with either similar goals or a similar physical limitation, those individuals are pursuing an improvement of pain reduction or in mobility, okay, for the limitation, or achievement of whatever the goal might be, fat loss or strength gain, or preparation for an event or whatever it might be, okay? So between those two, if I'm to take clients at pretty much any age, rationally speaking, at some point, their age doesn't matter a whole lot, but their limitations or their goals are very similar. Why would I write 2 different programs for them if the program that I'm writing is the best program I can produce at that moment for that goal or for that limitation? So now the personalization of it comes into, and it's not cookie cutter. I know people think that. It's not cookie cutter. It's excellent programming. When you go to a university and you see a football coach creating a program for all the football players, they're all doing cleans that day. They're all doing snatches that day. They're all doing box jumps that day. We don't look at that and say, oh, it's cookie cutter. It's not. It's a good program to produce the goal that that team is training for. Our team just happen to be people that are in pain or people that have a bad hip or whatever the case might be, okay? So not cookie cutter approach, but the personalized approach to the program is what really makes the difference. And you've seen, I have another one on here. I have a little clip of me writing up all my workouts. It's a little time-lapse one of all that, where the program is consistent for that goal or for that limitation, and then the personal approach comes down as we go into that, all right? So keeping that in mind, we're not just picking 3 people and throwing them together. There are models that do that. I feel this works better. But keeping that in mind, if I'm training one-on-one client, accountability, motivation, what to do, all that is present. When I bring in another body or another client, same goals, similar goals, working personalities, and so on, those 2 individuals, now we have another pair of eyes that creates accountability for showing up, motivation to either not be outdone or to inspire the other one. There's always going to be one rabbit and one chaser, okay? Someone being pursued and someone pursuing. We're always going to have that, even though it might be not recognized necessarily, like you can deadlift 205 and I can deadlift 90 and I'm coming for you. There will be efforts, and we see it all the time, where I'm writing it on the board or they're looking on there and I see them counting the bar. I'm looking here because our hex bars are right here. And they're counting the bar and they're like, okay, you know, Rob's at 105, I'm going to put 10s on, so I'm at 115. And then that client will do that, and then I look at that and I'm like, you know, Steve did 115. I'm either going to match that to try to chase, or I'm going to go in front of it. I'm going to go to 125 and try to up the game. And so there might be a competitive, like, hey, who can do more, and we talk a little, you know, whatever. Or it's just kind of this under our breath, under the process as we go, but it's recognized and it's noticed. It's as simple all the way down to, and we see this one a lot, especially with our older pops. Did you do 3 rounds? Because I only did 2. And they go, yeah, I did 3. And you see them go, well, now I have to do 3. Well, on my side of looking at that, as long as the client's capable and they're not going to get hurt doing it, or they look so exhausted they can't, then that is the point of being in the group. That's the whole idea of having this, the camaraderie is to push each other, to get the others to build up and to work up. And you might see the other client say, well, if you're doing a 3rd, maybe I'm going to do a 4th, or maybe I'm going to up my weights on this 3rd round to try to up one, right? Because there's a secret little mindset in there of I don't want to get caught. And then if you're the chaser, there's the mindset of I want to catch or I want to pursue. And so these little things start to come out as you see clients, you trainers, you probably, if you don't even partner training, you'll start to see that. A whole different level of intensity will come out of your one-on-one client if you put them with the right partner. Now, we can increase that by adding another person to the group. You have 3 people now, especially if there are workout components to where they have to, not necessarily where it's set up like you need to hurry up so I can go next, like there's 1 hex bar for 3 people, not necessarily that, but where there are enough options, but we need to keep flow. Like we need to keep the tempo of the workout going, where if I do fall behind a little bit, I am going to slow everybody else down just a hair. And so there's that mindset when you get 3 people or maybe 4. Now with us, we have at least 2 of everything, usually a little bit more. And I want to set it up to the point where a client doesn't feel pressure to perform or to be able to keep up with everybody else. Because that can backfire, and that would make me feel bad as a client, especially a new client. If I'm just getting buried by everybody else and I'm holding everybody up and I'm not lifting as much weight and I see all the, the feet tapping and the waiting and they're getting water for the 3rd time. It's like, okay, I'm the problem, right? I don't belong in this group. That's a failure on the coach. That's a failure on me, the trainer, of putting someone in that group. But if everyone's capable of hanging, we can keep tempo and we have most of our own gear, but we got to kind of keep up a little bit, that's good. That's a good component to this, okay? Then I add a 4th person in. Now we're starting to get a lot. And again, you've noticed the gradual progression of this. I don't just market and bring in 4 people who don't know each other, who all have different goals. It's got to be progressive. It has to be a good fit. The personalities have to work, or at least the efforts have to work well together, okay? And eventually you'll kind of build, you'll kind of recognize who works well, who doesn't, who needs a less intense group or a less qualified group, who needs more, who can do 5 rounds of a workout, who can do 3 rounds, or who can do a little more weight, who can do a little less, and so on, okay? So we get to 4 people. Things are really cooking now. There's some good intensity. If somebody isn't there that day, someone's sick and they don't show, there's still the camaraderie of the group, okay? Then we get to 5. Now things are starting to get crazy, especially on my end. Now I don't have even numbers, so I can't just have 2 barbells, you go, you rest, you go, you rest. Now I gotta have, things different. I gotta have my own equipment or my own cycles, or I have to have things, and I gotta be on my game, which is really hard for trainers because this isn't group training, this isn't boot camps, this isn't group exercise where everybody just does what I do and we follow, okay? This is still personalized and personal training in a semi-private format, which means I'm still getting personal attention, personalized approach to whatever I'm doing, but I have other people in the group. So you hear me refer to this often as an art form. It really is. You have to know how to do this well. And the best way to know is if people are staying or not, if people are enjoying it or not. If they try it once and they quit, or they don't come back, or they want to stay one-on-one, you're not very good at it. And it's not bad. I'm not dissing you. I'm just saying, like, you're just not great at that yet. And we need to master partner training before you go into 3. And when you master that, you can go on to 4 and kind of progress from there. So at some point, as we go, and I'll dive into this in a second, I know it's a little bit of a rant. At some point, you're going to get to a spot where the number of people that you have, okay, and the way that we did this in the test, in the push-up test, I'll tell you in a sec, the number is so big that no one feels like they're being watched or challenged or encouraged to be focused on anymore. And the way that we did it in our classes, instead of me being the only one on the table doing push-ups, we put 3 more people on tables doing push-ups at the same time. Well, and then my performance went from 40 back down into the 30s because I didn't feel the pressure and the anxiety a little bit, the good anxiety of knowing everyone was watching me, because I know other people are doing it too, so probably not everybody's watching me still. Not everyone was cheering for me, right? It starts to wear off a little bit. And nothing against group exercise or boot camp, but that's what happens. When you can have 5 coaches and 30 people and they're still not going to feel the same as 4 people and me, right? Because I'm just standing back watching everything and I'm nitpicking everything, and that's what we get paid to do, is to be technically sound and to coach and to cue and to progress, and it's not to socialize and eat our food and check our cell phone and do all these other things while we're going, right? We need to be on the spot. And when you're on that, none of the 4 clients feel like you're not paying attention. They feel like they're being attended to, like a private one-on-one training among a group of great people. And that is the product. That is the art of training people in a semi-private or a social facilitated mindset or format, okay? But it takes time, and it has to, you have to find this number, this magic number. And everybody's different. And I'm not just going to say my number is 6 or it's 4 or whatever it is. Mine depends on the group, on the outcome of the group, how experienced my clients are. I have a group every day at 7, the clients that come in, they've all, literally every single one of them has been with me except for one, has been with me for a decade or more. I have 10 years of experience with all, there's 8 in one and 6 in the other. So all 14 of these people have been with me for at least 10 years. So I know everything about them physically, inside and out, what they can do, what they can't do, what weights they use, how fast they can go, as long as there's something else that I don't know about, they're tired or something new, I know exactly what I can do with them and how. That group, I can take 8 people and we can just kick ass every day, and they all feel the same, the same attention and the same effort, and they love it, and I love that. And I have other groups where there's 4 people because they're new, I don't know them all that well, the physical limitations are much greater, so we have more things I need to pay attention to or to coach, then I need to address that, and I need to be on my game. So the numbers can change depending on who you're working with, okay? And from hour to hour and goal to goal, but again, art form, it takes time to figure that out, okay? So bringing that whole rant back to how we get this thing started, I'm going to look at it as brand new clientele, and then if you're already an established one-on-one trainer, how do you start doing this? Because that's the other question I get a lot of. Okay, it sounds like a good plan, how do we get started? Okay, so we bring everybody in for our strategy session, that's our assessment, our consultation and interview, if you will, that whole kind of component when we come in. We go through our strategy session, the form, this is contact information, health history as far as surgeries, medications, physical limitations, emergency contact, measurements if I'm going to do them. Rarely do I measure people just because of the demographic I work with. They're not here necessarily for before and afters or massive amounts of muscle gain or fat loss. They're here to improve their mobility and decrease pain, so we measure things in a different way, okay? We go through the Part Q, we use the Part Q Plus, I'm a big fan of that. The health history form, liability forms, anything extended that you need, doctor's notes, any of that other stuff. We call the agreement, also known as the contract, and then we process and get scheduled to go through our starter packet, which is 4 one-on-one training sessions. And if you listen to our one we did last week, we kind of talked about, we have 45-minute sessions and we have an hour and 15-minute sessions. And so you can go back and listen to that one if you'd like to. Again, they're on YouTube, but I kind of detail that a little bit more. So during these 4 sessions, we're teaching our mobility menu, our variation of movement prep, and then warm up. So they're ready to go within about 15 to 20 minutes every day. So we really teach them that. And then our 14 staple exercises, I'll show you in just a second. These are the ones that if we teach them how to do a bent row or a hinged row, I can now do that with a dumbbell, a barbell, a band, a sandbag, a landmine, whatever component, a cable pulley, whatever I give them, but they know the basics of how to do a bent row or a hinged row. And so I have 14 of those that are our basic movements they're going to see in pretty much every workout, or they could see in every workout, that I need them to learn in a one-on-one format. And then beyond that, we have 4 we call like-minded group training sessions. Like-minded being physical limitation and or goal outcome. So I want to plug those people into a group that fits them, a demand of what they are pursuing. Now there are models out there where it's time-based, and at 7 o'clock I have a client that wants to be a power lifter, I have another one that has a pending knee replacement, and I have another one that is a high school shot putter, and then I have another one that's a grandma with a bad shoulder. And I can train all 4 of those individuals by giving them each their 4 workouts, and I kind of oversee each one. I think that is a form of social facilitation. There's the presence of having other people around and the attention of the coach, but it lacks the camaraderie in some cases. It depends on the coach and how well they do their job. But there's a lack of camaraderie when you're not all together doing a workout, but you are working out together. Does that make sense? Okay, you are in the same gym, you are working out together, but you're not in the training session necessarily doing the same things and pushing each other along for the most part. So I like the idea rather of finding individuals that I can merge into a group that have the same outcome goal, right? They're pain reduction or movement based, or it's a goal of what they're pursuing to be able to do, right? So we take them through 4 of those, and then at that point, we're either sold or they're not sold, okay? We're either buying the Costco package of applesauce like I talked about before, or, okay, thank you, we really appreciate the time, and I hope you find what you're looking for, but they have a great experience, they move on, they tell their grandma or their mom or their neighbor or whoever else, because they had a good time, it just wasn't necessarily for them, which we as trainers, we need to get over that ego kind of process, which took me a long time to do, of thinking like, what do you mean I can't train everybody? I'm great at what I can do. I can work with everyone. That's not necessarily true. The environment, the personality, the style, in some cases the equipment, all these things dictate how you are as a coach and as a trainer. So it's not going to work for everybody, and that's okay. You need to find the right people, because there's a ton of them out there. There's a crap load of people that need us, right? There's a ton of them. They just don't know about us. They don't know that we're here. They don't know that we're good at this. And so we need to showcase that. And once they're here, and we see it's a good fit, and they like it, and we've done this, and we've gone through the whole thing, we think it's a good fit, and they think it's a good fit, then off we go, okay? Now our program is built. And the reason that we know this works well, not only have we done it, but the Cosgroves did this in 2012, I think, don't quote me exactly, but it was right around there when I went to one of their events and they told me about it. There's a 3% success rate for a general personal trainer and a one-on-one client to achieve the goals that they set out for. Not a great success rate. Where in a semi-private model, 2 people or more, it was a 51% success rate. Okay, and so when we, maybe a month or 2 ago, I had a picture of our goal board up here. And I remember I put up there, we had like 63% accomplish rate, or maybe 68%, something like that. And somebody messaged me and they're like, what are you bragging about a D for? What are you bragging about 63%? I'm like, the rest of the industry's 3%. And we were at 68. I was thrilled. I was pumped. We had some clients that had limitations, they didn't make it. We had others where things came up and they weren't able to train as often. We had 1 or 2 clients that dropped out. We had 1 or 2 clients that an injury flared up. We had some other people that just life happened and we didn't make it. Like, that's okay, right? That is the philosophy of training, the reason that we're here. These are not, for us, we are not outcome-based clientele. Okay? We're not looking at a client saying 8 weeks from now you need to be ready for the combine. We need to be ready for opening day. We need to be ready for the grand championships or the playoffs. We're not looking for that. They're doing an 8-week training cycle with us to start the next week 8 training cycle with us to start the next, and we just keep going with the intention and the goal of accomplishing something, reducing their pain, increasing their mobility. Maybe they want to bench press more. Maybe they want to hit the golf ball from. That's fine. But these are life goals. Okay? They're not performance outcome goals. So when we look at that, 50%, 51%, 60%, that's huge. That's a huge success rate. Okay? And that's something that I want to be proud of. But when people ask me, does it really work? Yes. We have some statistics to show. Not only do I know that it works that way, but this is how we're at. Okay? So semi-private group model can range in the numbers. We talked about that. Typically 2 to 6. I'm just going to kind of give you the average in there, 2 to 6. Might be more dependent on your ability. We talked about art form quite a bit. Smaller groups, 2 to 4, again, dependent on your availability and your ability. This can be a little bit more specific to a limitation or a very specific goal. It is nice to have like 4 powerlifters all training together, or 4 golfers all training together, where in some of these other areas it could be 6 people that are here for general strength and conditioning. That's great, but they all have little physical limitations here and there. I can take more of them, right? So sometimes the sport or the outcome will dictate that. 5 to 8, this is really hard. Again, I say seasoned clients. I don't mean old. I just mean that you have worked with them for a long time. Okay, they have really good experience with you. You know them well. There's not a whole lot of mystery to the relationship anymore. You guys are good. Okay, you're solid. So those are really kind of the focuses of the basic components to putting this whole thing together. And now, based on the client, their experience, how they do, where we place them as we continue to train, it's based on our goals. I know you can't see this very well, but if you've been watching with us, you recognize some of these. Here is our general strength and conditioning, our older adult, and then our strongman recreational powerlifter. These are the 3 programs or blueprints that we created that are the 12-week cycle dictators of exercise and progression, if you will, that we use. And at the end of 12 weeks, we recycle, we rebuild, we reassess, and we go again. And we continue to build these as we go. But these are the outlines of how we build our workouts for those 3 specific groups. Okay. We have another one for elderly. I don't have a whole lot of clients that I consider elderly. And the way that I would look at this, there's a book that I saw called Training the Frail Elder. And I think that's different than training 50 to 80-year-olds, like the average 50. I don't think. I know it's different than training the 50 to 80-year-old that is capable. The frail elder, in my mind, is someone that cannot stand up straight. They cannot get up and down off the floor. They need basically assistance with the majority of what they do. And that's borderline physical therapy / assisted living. There's a happy medium in there where we're still involved, I think, but it's a different philosophy and a different model. I've had 2 clients in the last year that I would say are close to this, and so I'm still in the process of kind of building my model that addresses that. As I hope to kind of gain more clients there, I think those people really need our help, just as everybody does. I think everyone can benefit from it, but if there's someone that has that limited quality of life, and I'm going to use that term, being a 2-time cancer survivor and coming up on surgery number 11, when you look at quality of life, that is more important than any outcome, in my opinion, that you can train for. Okay? I need to get up with a positive outlook every day because my body doesn't hurt, and basically just things are, I almost cursed, sorry. I get to the point where I'm like, man, my quality of life is so poor that the only thing that could really resurrect or change this is a drastic life change. That's where all this other comes in. Behavioral coach, dietitian, physical therapy, us, right? We're all kind of included in that. So that to me, I'm not going to say 80 and plus because I've had some 80-year-olds that are totally capable and awesome. But I've also had 50-year-olds that have a very poor quality of life. They cannot move well. They are not doing well. They need assisted living. They need help, but they could really benefit from us. So that's a new model that I'm working on and trying to build one of these that will address that demographic. Because I definitely think that's something that I can work with, that John and I can work with, that you can work with, and I'd like to be able to teach it to you as we go. Okay? So with that being said, these are the 14 exercises. Again, I know you can't see it all that well. And this is another talk. I'll do another one of these in the future that address these 14. But just to run through them real quick, the way that I want to coach, some of you that have watched this, hinge, which is basically an RDL or a stiff leg deadlift. Hinge with a bent knee. To us, deadlift, squat. Okay, but that's the way we coach it. We have our swings, so basically a faster hinge. Bench press or any of our horizontal pushes, barbell, dumbbell, doesn't matter there. Okay. any of our pull downs, so our vertical pulls, any of our strict presses going overhead, and then any of our horizontal rows or bent rows. So those are our 7 there. And then we have uprights, so vertical pulls. We have lunges in place or split feet, so anything where we're doing a step up or a lunge, one of the two. We have the Airdyne bikes. We want to teach them how to use those well, how to adjust them. Plank variations, so the basic components of how to plank, where to position their body, what they should be feeling, what cues to focus on. Weighted carries. This could be a variation of, there's probably 30 of them that we work with, depending on the implement where, but just basic, typically a farmer walk to start us off. How to get up and down off the floor, body weight, with weight, assisted based on their need. And then ropes, working the ropes, understanding the tempo and the variation we have. Now, we have rowers, we have all these other things that we work with, but these are the 14 that they're going to see on a regular basis that I need them to have a basic idea on. And again, this is an instructional list. It doesn't mean every client's going to do this. I have 30% of our clients actually do kettlebell swings, but it's a part of a basic component that we find valuable enough to put it on our list. That the client is capable, and as we progress and go through life, if they're able to do it, we will do it. Every time I do something like this, people are like, you have somebody swing a kettlebell on their first day? No, I don't have. And I have people learn how to RDL and to hinge really well for a long period of time before we just speed it up and then give them a kettlebell. That's basically our version. We call a low swing, okay? So this is our staple list of exercises that we want them to be able to do at some point or be capable of doing, right? So that's what we check through. We talk about finding the right fit, getting the client in the right spot, merging things together, finding the accountability, having the right philosophy, building that program up over 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it's going to be, okay? For general pops, again, no outcome or culminating event, so we do 12 weeks every 3 months. And then being able to create these programs, put them on the board or in your book or however you provide them to your clients, but add this personalized component to it on a daily basis where these 4 people, these 8 people, the other 16 people of ours that do our general strength, and then our 4 or 5 others that are our Timmerman approach, or our knee injury clientele, and or we have little glute builders, we have extra burnouts for our conditioning groups, just depends on who we have that day. We are able to kind of personalize and build all that out while still just providing 4 programs that we know these models work really, really well, okay? So long story short, that all funnels down into this, but I wanted to but kind of get back and get everybody else's mind around the idea of like why this style of training works well. It's not just more people equal more income and more fun for the client. That is a component to it, but you're not going to have a bunch of clients and have them having a great time and have them keep coming and make a greater income if you're not good at this. So it's not just, hey, we're going to do this model, plug it in. A lot of businesses try and they fail badly. And this isn't the death of one-on-one training either. I see that often on the internet. One-on-one training has its place. It's very valuable. We do it to an extent like we talked about in the beginning, but our ultimate goal is to get a client into a group because I know that's going to be more beneficial for them, okay? So that's the intention of what we have there, the direction, the reasoning, and all that. The other question I get on this is, well, I'm already a one-on-one trainer. How do I transition into training groups or small groups or partners? And the first instruction is start with partners. And if you could take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clients a day by 5 days a week, and you have 25 sessions, which is the average what personal trainers do. Okay, the average personal trainer in America does 22 to 25 sessions a week. If you could do that, and then get each of those clients a partner, take your 25 sessions and within a year or two, turn it into 50 sessions without you working more hours necessarily, just harder hours. It's definitely harder to train more people. You got to be on it. You got to go. There's a different level of intensity for you if you're going to make it work, okay? But to make 25 sessions into 50 doesn't necessarily double your money because they'll change prices for group training and so on. That depends. That's another talk, okay? But it's a greater income on that end. The client's going to start to experience more camaraderie, everything else we talked about, so the greater likelihood of achieving their goals. You are, I hate to say it this way, but more entertained or engaged because you have more people to engage with, but that really is the case. The client has more success and more engagement because they have more people to engage with. And there's a camaraderie or a friendship or something further where when we hold socials and all this, we have 92 people coming to our holiday party next Wednesday. 92 people from like 68 last year. I mean, this place is going to be packed and it's going to be awesome. I'm thrilled to do it. But the camaraderie of the group, I'm not going to just say is all from the workouts. It's from all these great people getting together. and they really like each other and they love being around. And when we have a party like this, everybody comes. When we have charity events and charity workouts, we get 25, 30 people to come per hour. You know, our Thanksgiving one, we had 8 in the first hour at 6 o'clock, and then we had 24 in the second group. And we had, 30, 32 people that came in on a holiday, on Thanksgiving morning, on Family Day. They came to work out. That's because of the camaraderie of the group, the teams and the people they start to kind of break themselves into, right? So if you're able to take 25 and turn it into 50, and then at some point you have the ability, you have the opportunity, the facility you're at, you have the space. I'll tell you another thing. If you have 3 one-on-one trainers in a general populated gym, and they all go from one-on-one training clients, 25 sessions a week, okay, 5 sessions a day, and they're all on the floor at the same time. You have 3 trainers, you have 3 clients, that's 6 people on the floor every hour, plus general membership that's in there. If each of those 3 trainers add in another person, you go now up to 16 people, or you add more, 18 people, all of a sudden the gym starts getting really full, is my point, okay? You get to a point where you might have 3 trainers with 3 or 4 people every hour after hour after hour, and you ended up getting 20, 25 sessions a day per trainer. That's 75 people through that gym in the morning, plus membership around. Problems start to occur. You need space, you need equipment. You don't need to be stealing equipment from other trainers, so you get it first, or this is my side of the room and your side of the room. Like, you got to make sure this model fits you, because it causes more problem than good, in my opinion, okay? So make sure this fits. But if you have the ability to do this, and you've talked to your manager, or you're the owner, or whatever it is, and you have the ability to go for it, do it. Get really good at partners, then go into 3s and see how 3s go. Maybe 4, you get to 4, you're like, this is overwhelming, but I'm going to go with it, and things are going good, and this is it, then I'm 4. If I had 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 people a day by 5 days, that's 100 sessions a week. Now you're doing what the average trainer does in a month in a week. And I have people say, oh, is that really realistic? Yes, it is. I guarantee it's realistic, okay? It's going to take years. It's going to take a long time to build a clientele that believes in that and your abilities to provide a good product that way, but I guarantee you it's realistic, and it is very possible to do so. And again, this is not group exercise boot camp where I just had 30 people show up and I say I train 120 people a week. This is real, semi-private, 4 to 6 people every hour, every half hour, depending on your model. It's just going to take time. We are the slow cooker, right? We are the crock pot of fitness. And that's what we need to think of it this way. It's not a quick model. Okay? It's something that you need to build over time, but it's a very successful model if you do so. All right. So we highlight each client. I'm sorry about the tangents, but I'm really, I don't know, I think a lot of trainers think like, oh, this won't work. And it's defeating to an extent, because I've been, I'm on 15 years of doing this. And I feel like this is something that trainers can do. You just need to learn how to do it, right? So sorry about the tangents. We take each client, so these are mock names up here: Steve, Jessica, Steve, Jessica, Steve, okay, my 5 a.m.s, and then Mark, Tracy, and so on. But underneath there, it's, shoulder is the physical limitation if they have one, and then the goal. Steve has a shoulder issue, wants to get stronger. Jessica is a power lifter, no physical limitations, okay? So I kind of bracket everybody out in that on my schedule, and I say, okay, where do I think some people could jump around and could move around and maybe fit together? And if this is your schedule or something similar, you could come in and basically ask your clients, would you be willing to come in and try working with a partner? And before I even let them answer, I say, let's try it. If things go well, we can keep doing it. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're not going to hurt theirs. We go right back to what we're doing. I'm not giving away your time slot. We don't even pay for it. It's just a free session. Let's just give it a shot and see what you think. So now there's no risk. There's no, like, if I do it and the person's going to think I don't like them, or Rob's going to be upset because I'm messing up his new model, or none of that, okay? We just try it. If you like it, we'll move on. And 95% of the time, they love it. I had a couple of clients that were like, nope, I like the one-on-one. We stuck with one-on-one, and as the years went on, and their one-on-one session was surrounded by 4 people above it and 4 or 5 people below, they eventually merged into a group. They tried working with some of their people, or they recruited in their own people to create their own group. Because instead of being in with strangers, I'd rather be in with 2 of my buddies. That's fine with me too. I want it to be a cool environment of everybody that works together. Bringing in 2 other people and you all know each other, that's a huge lift up on my end. Bringing in really great people that already work well, cool with me, right? No problems there. So give it a try. Let's see. It's either physical limitation based or it's goal outcome based. So you start to look at these and you're like, okay, Bob is here for hypertrophy, but he has a knee issue. Mark is here for hypertrophy, but has a back issue. I can still take this model of hypertrophy and critique both of them for their physical limitations to let them work together. So I moved Bob up, and Bob was only coming in twice a week, but Bob liked it so much he wanted to join Mark on his third day on Friday. So now Bob has an extra day added in there, another session for me. Tracy, shoulder, power lifter. Jessica, power lifter. Tracy moves up, she likes that. Kendra down here has a neck issue with fat loss. Lisa has a knee issue but fat loss, so I bring Kendra down. Kendra was only doing 1 day a week. Now she liked this so much, she's going to do 3 days a week with Lisa. Lisa has a new partner. She's really happy. Oh, here's Julie down here with a hip issue, but also for fat loss. She wants to jump into this group of 3. Now she jumps in. When I look at that now across the board, I just took all my current clientele. I added 1 new session for Bob and 2 new sessions for Lisa. Everybody else has stayed the same, but I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new open sessions or new spaces in my schedule to start another group or another multiple people group or one-on-one trainer to one-on-one client to eventually build them into a group. So it's maximizing your scheduled time, not necessarily opening more hours, but more availabilities per hour. But you got to make sure they fit. And that's where trial and error comes in. You might have some personalities that clash and you take them out of there. You might have some goals that just don't work all that well together. I've found along the ways that like hip and knees and hip, knee, back can all train pretty well together with slight modifications, but shoulders, there's a lot more to that, right? So you can kind of find some things that kind of shift around, move around. Strongman, powerlifting, believe it or not. I know it's so simple to say that, but very different styles of training, but still kind of work well together. There's a respect for people trying to move heavy things, okay, and they work well together. Endurance and our interval training, our fat loss groups, they seem to work well together. So you'll start to see some of these as you come across. Knowing your number, knowing the group, knowing the outcome. Maybe I can have 4 people in my powerlifting group, but when I get to hypertrophy, I'm really comfortable with that. The programming is great, maybe less technical on the movements we do. I can have 6. So I could have 4 in here, I could have 6 in here, I could have 4 in here, I could have 4 in here, I could have 4 in here. There's my 24 sessions or 22 sessions a day. As I go across that, and I can build that even further if I get more people to commit in each of those times. This is a model that takes time. You are the crock pot. Okay, remember those things as we go. Things to focus on, our mission statement, improve their quality of life. Not to implement what things you like to do with training clients. It's what they need. Improve their goals, improve, and I know that sounds so simple. Of course, we're here for them. But our favoritisms of movement, of tensions, of exercises, of equipment, we select the stuff that we like or that we like people to use, not necessarily what they need. So keep that in mind when you're working with clients. Even though you got cool stuff and things you want them to try, make sure it's the right fit for them and for their demand. So improving their quality of life, what you have in here. We're able to keep consistent and pay attention to our client by really not having a whole lot of downtime for us. We don't look in the mirror, we don't check our cell phones. Now I take video, I show clients video while we're going through. I do have clients that cancel or reschedule. We have what we call a floating schedule. So we have clients that might not make it at 5, but they can come at 6, and if I have room, they'll text me. So I do have components in my day or moments in my day where I'm on my phone, but that's usually, during downtime when they're stretching or we're at a break or we're at movement prep to start off, but not when we're in the heat of battle, when we're in the heat of going and technical and coaching and instruction, okay? So there's that part. Chatting with coworkers, with whatnot, very minimal. Definitely not eating on the floor. Like we had trainers that would eat like a bowl of cereal or soup on the floor. Come on. Be a professional, right? Surfing the web, anything else like that. All this kind of stuff, very minimal, if not no at all. Okay, you need to be on. And I tell people all the time, I start at 4 and I get done at 10, 10:30, and I'm tired. It's not because I started and I got up at 2 a.m. It's because I'm tired from giving my energy out to pursuing and pushing this energy out to these people and driving and coaching and getting all this going. That's a lot of effort. You're not just managing and showing up and watching everybody walk through their workout. You are coaching it. There's effort to that. Daily mobilities, while they're on the ground or doing things that are less technical, we can get a little bit more personal attention. Go up and ask. I ask every single client every single day. Tracy walks in the door. Tracy, how you feeling? How's the shoulder? How's your knee? What's your Achilles feeling like? She gives me a little this and that. Make sure when we're doing this, we're going to use this weight, not the high step, hit the low one. Make sure you do your Achilles, your stretches before we get going. Just 2 minutes of just discussion, not even that, 30 seconds of just a little discussion brings forth any new information you need, re-recognizes the client that you remember and that you know these things are going on and that you've addressed it in here, and it just keeps that personal connection there. How's your day going? How's the family members? What else is coming up? Other holidays. We have other events that are coming up. We do have some clients that are culminating event-based. There's a wedding or there's a golf tournament or something like that. That it's not, this huge like, I'm going to lose a scholarship or not if I do well on this. It's just a family golf tournament, right? So we do keep some of those things in mind. We just had CIM. We had, one of our marathons. We have another client that's climbing a mountain in Rainier. Like these things, keeping them in mind, re-engaging, discussing. Every day there's excitement and there's personal components, even though you're in a group of people. Okay, that's where a lot of people feel like it's lost. And then education-wise, there are components every single day to our workout where it's a new opportunity for me to teach my clients or all of them in the group something new. Always answering the why. Why did we specifically today go from a pronated row to a neutral row as we rode our dumbbells? And we asked that to a client, we asked them what their thoughts are on it, and it's a real simple component of we're not always neutral when we reach and row for something. We're going to have pronation or supination in our hand when we do it, so we want to train that component every once in a while, just for fun. Okay, just to have a different variation, a different angle of pull, make sure the body's ready for it. So being able to answer that, but to discuss to them and let them know why we do the things that we do. And it gives you other components to answer on the backside of that. Why am I picking these things? Why are we having people do these things the way that we do them? Is it common practice? Which, if you know me, that's a bad word, right? That's a bad phrase, because I don't like common practice. I don't want you to just do because other people do. I want you to think for yourself. I want you to have a process that you go through and say, this is why we're selecting every little thing that we do, every little component of how we do it, why it's done this way with this tempo, with this load, at this angle, at this height, with this posture, okay? Everything. That's what you're being hired for, is to critique them and provide the best opportunity of that, not just to be different. It's not just to provide something different because we get bored doing lunges, right? It's for a specific reason. Always. Everything. They will respect that so much more, right? I guarantee you that they will. So these are the things we come across to teach and show and cue and always give the reason why. Because then it relates to life when we're out there doing these things. I have one client, she's here today, comes over to the kettlebell that I already have sitting out, stands over the top of it, sets up perfect, comes down, gets braced, puts her knees in the right spot, locks in her core, pulls her shoulders back, chin to chest, perfect deadlift, does 8 of them, and then bends over and sets it down with a round back and her knees collapse. And I'm looking at this going, you just did this perfectly 8 times, and then the one time when it really mattered the most, when you're tired with heavy weight, to return it to the ground, you just bend over, right? Because I haven't really sold her on the why yet, why it's so important. The setup is great. We've got through that why. It's the rest of the part. And why with a pair of socks or a dryer lint sheet or a towel, all the way up to a toolbox or a box of books or whatever it is that you're moving, that doesn't change. It should always be the same setup, right? So we have to sell that. We have to teach that. We have to inspire that. And when those things start to come together, we're affecting more than just how they pick up and set down kettlebells. It goes out into life. It transfers into what we do out there. And now they don't get hurt cleaning up their garage or moving bags of, bark around the yard when they're remodeling, whatever it is, right? That's when what we do transfers. But you need reasons why. For you as the trainer, for them as the client, and how it all connects. That's where you're really starting to make a difference in what we do with people on a daily basis, okay? So a lot of little stories, a lot of little rants that I go on to. I hope you find value in all this as we go along. And the reason I want people to take this so serious and to see these things is collectively our reputation all depends on us. And right now it's in the crapper. It is not good. Our reputation is not good. We have a 90% failure rate. We have a 10% success rate with clientele. And that's not great, gang. We need to be better than that. And it starts with having the reasons and the resources and the whys to what we do and selecting that and finding models that work and providing the best opportunities for our clients. And when those things all start to come together, the reputation of us collectively, you specifically, but us collectively starts to improve. Because you're one more component now, one more story of a good trainer out there. And the more good trainer stories we have, when people discuss good trainers, they say, maybe I need a good trainer. And then your name is brought up. And now if we don't have 10 bad ones and only one good one, which a lot of people think, I'll just be the good one, okay? Well, then you're looking at this as, the majority of you guys are a joke. But there's one good one out there. I'd rather have 10 great ones, and they have to find the best one for them, right? Because everybody needs us. They all need us. We all need trainers. They all need trainers. We're all here for the same purpose. We just need to improve our quality. And as our quality collectively improves, our demand will rise. Our people will covet the idea of working with someone who's really damn good at this, right? Rather than thinking like, most of them suck, I have to find the gem. Well, no, there's a bunch of really good ones out there. So collectively, we all need to get better. That's the whole point of this. Why I do this, why all the speakers do this and trainers do that. We all want to get better at this, right? And collectively, it makes us all better in the long run. So a lot of rants today. I hope you don't mind. Kind of the last one. I wanted to get a lot of stuff out there. And you see all my contact info, robertlinkle@gmail. You can also see a lot of our other content at BeStrongerFitness.com. When you get on there, look at the top right column. It says Career Development Mentoring. You'll see all of our stuff on there, our mentoring packages, our career development content. I have all my articles on there, a bunch of our ESU clips, also links to our YouTube page. You'll see all those. I'm doing weekly career development calls, so anybody that's interested in doing one of those, I do 3 a week. They're half hour long. They're free. Basically, you chat with me while I drive home on my commute. So prepare questions, any of that. If you want to do one, call me, email me. We can schedule one up. And then remember, the next couple of days I'll be out recovering from surgery, but my fingers work. I'll be able to text and email whatever you need. Whatever I can do to help you in the long run, please let me know. And look forward to 2018. We have some really cool stuff coming up that's going to be released here in just a couple of days. I have a year-long and annual education program that we're going to unveil in the next couple of days coming up for 2018. Something I would love you all to be a part of. A weekly education course that we're going to do online, also live here at the gym. So if you ever want to come and do one of those, please feel free. But I'll get more details as we go along, but I'm really excited about it. So happy 2017. It was a great year. Thank you for including me into it. I look forward to 2018. Happy New Year coming into this. And I hope some of these practices that we've talked about the last 6 months affect your business and your career and your quality of life, as that is the goal. And best wishes to you and your clients. Good training. Happy New Year. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.